if it were not for all of the ways, if it were not for all of the ways that you show up for us. As a matter of fact, we just had that event on Sunday. Sunday, we were at the on the 33rd Street, 830 West 33rd Street at the Center Star Baptist Church, and we were there for the college cookout buffet. And I'm sitting right beside black man politician. Y'all shouldn't put us together. I realized that Sunday. Y'all don't need to put us together because we be cutting up. We the children in the classroom that be cutting up, getting in trouble. I'm gonna call your parents. Getting in trouble. Y'all gonna call our parents. But we greet you this morning in the spirit of Sawubona, that spirit of oneness that binds us together by our humanity. And there's absolutely nothing that you can do that can extrapolate me from you as human to human. But there are things that we can do to make sure that we are manifesting what it really looks like to show up for each other, human to human, in a way that is just, in a way that is equitable, in a way that is inclusive, in a way that is liberating. That is what's going to undergird this conversation on this morning. So I want to make sure that you know that in studio this morning, I'm talking about live in studio this morning. Oh, Community Voices, we do center Blackness in the context of the human story. So every person that is a human, you are welcome to join this story. And the phone lines are open at 501-433-0088. Phone lines are open at 501-433-0088. If you don't want your voice on the air, which is fine with me, but you want to be able to reach out anyway, you can reach out to me directly at 228-236-7440. That's 228-236-7440. Like, is y'all calling already? Calling you live on the air, KABF. Thanks for calling Community Voices. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. We just getting started. Y'all already calling. But the phone lines are open, and you're still your co-host in the house this morning, live. It's the Plaza Toney Orr. Good morning, Toney.
Good morning. I hope everybody's having a great and beautiful Tuesday morning so far. I hope you have a great week so far. It's great to be in studio today. And it's good to see my friends.
Good to see your friend. We're going to talk about your friend. Okay. Caller, you're live on the air at KABF 88.3 FM. Thanks for calling.
Good morning to you, the listeners. When you get that phone number, you gave again.
I surely will. Absolutely. It's area code 228 23.
228.
228
Okay.
236
236
7440.
And I have like announcement to make about the young man you had on last week during the lawn service.
Oh, yeah.
And he came out and did the best job I ever had on my
lawn. What you say? That's what Daddy said. You better work, Daddy. You better work.
You know, I gotta put him out there best I can, you know. He's very nice and respectful, and his work was excellent. So,
I am glad.
You know, I would like to say something. I'm not condemning our ministers or anything, but look like our ministers, good for you all. Can't y'all get together and come up with something to start building these, redoing these houses? We got all kinds of people know how to do all the testing. You just need somebody to bring them together. People buying the house and redoing them, and we just sitting back here. We need to do some damn economics. That's what I'm saying. Let's the spiritual stuff alone. Let's get with this economics. Because if you ain't got no good economics, you ain't gonna have no good spirit. I know. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Carl. I appreciate that. Danny, we're going to be in touch. I was absolutely impressed by just his energy in the room. Like before he even started talking, before he's talking about what he wants to do, what his goals are, what his visions are, you could just feel the presence of him. And I really feel like if we as Black folks in particular, but all people, but it's Black folks in particular, if you understood the power of your energy, the power of presence, when you just show up in the room, things change. And if you could understand what that feels like and walking that and living that every single day, then we absolutely could make a difference. And so Hotep is already on the line wishing us life, prosperity, and health. Toney, you need to be closer to the mic. That's what he said. So I love community always keeping us in check. But before I start with these announcements, I do want to allow our guests just to greet us. And I know that many of you already know him, but just in case there's somebody on the line who does not know him, because we are a global streaming platform. So it might be somebody in Rome right now who does not know who you are because they do not live in the United States. And so we got the black man politician in the house today. So greet us this morning.
Good morning to all. Good morning to you, Denise. Good morning to you, Toney. My name is Virgil Miller, Jr. I live in Little Rock, Arkansas, and I am the proud director on the Little Rock City Board of Ward 1. And I also work for Arvest Bank Operations. I work in compliance, and I have been working in downtown Little Rock since 1976. I've been working for financial institutions since 1977, all in downtown Little Rock. And so I feel, quite frankly, if you don't know Virgil Miller Jr., that means you hadn't been in Little Rock that long. You certainly hadn't been in banking, or you're a young person, because everybody ought to know me. And that's not an arrogant statement. It's just because I've been in town for 51 years doing this work, community development work, and certainly working with this studio, KABF, since, the 1970s, early 80s, that I've had a relationship here. So I greet all your listeners in the spirit of Sawubona.
Hey, in the spirit of Sawubona. I do want to make a couple of announcements before we get together. I am super excited to announce greetings. Thank you for participating in the Wisdom Wednesday, taking it on the road to Delta Dirt Distillery and the Elaine Massacre Memorial in Helena, Arkansas. It's tomorrow, Wednesday, June 15th. The bus will depart promptly at 9 a.m. from the parking lot of Hearn Center at 1001 Wright Avenue. Please plan to arrive at 8:30 a.m. Please park in the Gallery Bookstore parking lot, and please do not park in the handicap spots. We are going to arrive at the Elaine Massacre Memorial at 11:20 a.m. We're going to depart at 11:30 and arrive at the Art Delta Dirt Distillery at 11:35. We're going to depart the Delta Dirt Distillery at 1 and arrive back to the Hearn Center at 3:20 p.m. It's going to be live entertainment on the bus. It's going to be some drinking in the house. It's going to be some conversations flowing, some discussions going. We probably going to get into it about a couple of things. I'm super excited. So if you have not already secured your spot, just show up in the morning. That's all you got to do. Show up in the morning, 8:30 a.m., 1001 Wright Avenue, and we're going to have a great time honoring and celebrating the only Black farm to bottle distillery in the United States of America. Woo, woo. I'm super excited about that. So I do want to make sure that I make that announcement. I do have some other announcements as well. I forgot to go last night. 6:00 p.m. They are having this every single Monday in June. At 6 p.m. at Pyramid Art Books and Custom Framing. They're having lyrics, legacy, and sound, something like that. That's being hosted by Janine Latrice Perez. And they're having all of these different like soulful entertainers so that you can experience art musically, so that your body can do without listening. When we was playing that song, I'm Black and I'm Proud, it's 3 of us in this studio, and all 3 of us was jamming in a different way. I had my shoulders going, Toney had his whole head and body and everything shaking. Virgil Miller over here, trying to be cool with it. He was trying to be cool with it, just shaking a little bit in his seat. But that's what happens happens when good music happens, when you are able to experience the expressions of the musical, when you are able to experience the expressions of instrumentation, when you are able to let your body flow with what's happening in it. I mean, every cell is activated by the music that you are listening to. So this was so exciting, and that's what we are going to be doing tomorrow. That's what we're going to be doing. That's what we do here at KABF 88.3 FM, especially when it's not a talk show. We have music that is set to move your body and engage your mind. And so I do want to make sure that you have that announcement about the Delta Dirt Distillery. And then I did make the announcement about thank you all so much for showing up for the transitional class of 1972 who had their annual cooking for college buffet. What was it? $24,000 they gave out on Sunday, and they only really meant to give out 8. So 8 times 2 would be 16. But there were 4 families who were interested in sponsoring the $2,000 scholarships on their own, and that's how we ended up with $24,000. We had 12 of the most brilliant Black minds in the room, just graduating high school, ready to go off to college. We had some that are going to be social workers, some going to be fashion designers, some that are going to be medical doctors. Virgil, was it really going on up in there?
It was a great display of young, talented Black students and a community that supports them. It takes a village.
It takes a village. And it was just so, and then each one of the recipients got up and they had an opportunity to respond to the fact that they had been chosen for this particular scholarship fund. And so they were able to talk about that. They had like about a minute to talk, and it was good. And there were young men, there were young women. I mean, I really, really was just glad to be in the number on Sunday. So thank you all for joining us for that. We do want to remind you that Pyramid Art Books and Custom Framing is also having, they're going to do these book talks with Kimberly Crenshaw. I know I should not be partial to folks, that everybody should just kind of be on the same equal footing. But when I tell you that I'm like, did you say Kimberly Crenshaw, the one that's responsible for the critical race theory? I mean, we about to do a whole book talk with her. Oh my goodness. I'm super excited. But we're also doing one for Benita T. Hampton Smith. She's a Marianna, Arkansas native, and she's the author of Dear White Woman, Dear Black Woman. She is scheduled for a book discussion signing on Thursday, June 25th at 5:30 p.m. And that is happening again at Pyramid Art Books and Custom Framing. And so we want to make sure that you know that you are absolutely invited to participate in that event. I think those are all of the announcements that I have. Do y'all have any announcements? Virgil Miller, you need to announce that you're running for office again?
That'll be coming out shortly. I've already picked up my candidate package. So yes, I will be running for office again, but more to come on that. You turn in your package between July 29th and August the 5th, and then it'll be official.
And then it'll be official.
Yes, but if anyone asks me, I am running again for Ward 1 position on the Little Rock City Board of Directors.
It did not, for every person that is, so here we are. One of the loyal listeners wanted me to showcase somebody who is Black and somebody who is successful. And when they asked me to do this, I'm not telling you what they said, but what I heard and what I felt them say to me was that, Denise, you really do not give Black folks enough props. Like, that's what I felt they were saying. You kind of hard on us. And so we want to make sure that you are highlighting those Black folks that are really out there doing it. And so it's important for me to ask them how to define success. How do you define success? Do you define it as big houses and luxury cars? And the person said yes. Okay, well, that was problematic for me because that is not at all the way that I define success. And so I wanted to make sure that I am not complicit in this system of white inhumanity that builds these boxes, and then they put these labels on these boxes, and then they tell everybody you need to try to to figure out how to fit into this box. And so I did not want success to be a box that I was trying to get you all and encourage you all to fit into. So instead, I turned it into a series. And so I've got different people. We had Cornelius Maven starting us off, the one who's working on the transitional love houses. I mean, doing the work for living with HIV. And I mean, I'm talking about doing the doggone thing. He started us off. And then last week we had Garbo Hearn, who is the director of Hearn Fine Art Gallery, and then also the CEO of Pyramid Art Books and Custom Framing. And so now we've got a whole black man politician. That's what my mama called. My mama love calling you black man politician. So we wanted to be able to showcase different ways that you can define success for yourself, so that you are not trying to be successful the way somebody else is. You're not trying to fit into a box. You're not trying to contort yourself. You're not trying to live with outside of your purpose. You're not trying to be pushed into anything other than who you are. We want to show you the different ways that you can think about what success looks like for you. And so that's what we are. That's why we are here today. That's what brought us to this moment. Mayor Lisa Hicks Gilbert, good morning, good people. Hey, we gonna be in Helena in the morning. And so I'm assuming that we gonna see you, Miss Ma'am. Is that right? We gonna see. I ain't seen you in a long time. I'm like the old black folks. I need to lay eyes on you. I need to, because I know you be looking good on Facebook. I know you doing the doggone thing. And I know you are, Mayor. I do. But I still need to lay eyes on you. I need to look into your soul. I need to make sure your soul is okay. So I can't wait to see you in the morning. Thanks for joining us for the show. And so I knew for a fact that calling you on that I'm black and I'm proud would be the song. I didn't even have to guess. I didn't even have to wonder. You've already told me the story of how much it means to you, but I really want you to share it again. Oh, she said, where and what time? We're going to be at the Delta Dirt Distillery at 11:30 in the morning. And then, so we're coming to the Elaine Massacre Memorial, and then we're going to go to the distillery. And then we're going to stay there until about, I don't know, 1-ish. And we're going to be back here at 3:20. So that's the plan for tomorrow. Lo says, I like to paraphrase Dr. King. If one of us does not succeed, then none of us succeed. And I like to paraphrase whoever said, if one of us ain't free, ain't none of us free. Whoever said that, I agree with all of that. And so tell us again, I don't know if you've told everybody the story about what it meant to you to hear James Brown sing this song at the time that you heard it in your life.
Well, thank you for that opportunity. I was born in 1953, and for you math majors out there, you can figure out that I am 73 years old. I'll be 74 on my birthday. And so I grew up in the civil rights era of the 60s. And when I was completed the first grade, we moved to Berkeley, California. The Millers are from Jefferson, Arkansas, and they migrated to the west. Part of the Millers migrated to Los Angeles, Crenshaw area, and another set of Millers migrated to East Bay, Berkeley, and Oakland. So whenever one wanted to leave the South and our family, they would go out to the family, and the family would let them stay there until they got on their feet. And so I grew up in the 60s in Berkeley, and I was exposed to nothing but white images. Mm-hmm. And when I was growing in elementary school, we had Dick and Jane, we had Spot, we had Puff. All these images were white. All the magazines that I saw were white. All the television shows, Leave It to Beaver, Ozzie and Harriet, My Three Sons, all we saw was white images. And so in my mind, thinking, boy, white, that must be great. That's what everybody is, and who seem to be having it going on. And so that's what we were exposed to in all our books, all on television. That's all I saw. And I remember one of my friends called me black, and I got mad. I told my mother, I came home mad, crying. She said, well, what's wrong with you, son? I said, so-and-so called me black. She looked at me and said, well, son, you are black. I said, well, he's blacker than me. And so there was this mentality that was in my mind
Color.
that being black, something was bad. Because I had never, and I was around all this whiteness. And then one day, James Brown came out with this song that said, "Say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud." And that song hit me and it stuck with me. And I have embraced it. That changed my life to really feel it. What's wrong with being black? You can be black and you can be proud. And I began to realize that these images that were being, that I was exposed to every day, somebody was doing that. I was not exposed to blackness and black beauty and black power. And then I began to embrace that. Being in Berkeley in the 60s, you would start to embrace that. It was the home of the Black Panthers. And my father's sister, the great Maudel Miller Sharrock, who was on the Little Rock, who was on the city council of Berkeley, who ran about the same time I did, started my career. She was 60 plus, and she ran because the city of Berkeley had an ordinance that you couldn't give community garden produce to the senior center. You had to buy it from a grocery store. She thought that was an absolutely ridiculous rule. And they said, if you don't like it, you need to run for office and change it. She ran for office and she became known as the godmother of East Bay politics. Very, very proud of my aunt. And I remember in 63, when I was 10 years old, she had me and my brother go to our house, and we drove over to San Francisco, and we marched in this march to support the March on Washington. And I was holding up a sign saying, free black people, free the South. And we were marching at the same time that they were marching in Washington, D.C., when Martin Luther King made that famous "I Have a Dream" speech. And so I began to embrace all of my blackness. And certainly that song just took me over the top, over the top.
Thanks for bringing up the Million Man March, the March on Washington. I want to remind us that it was the architect of the March on Washington was Bayard Rustin, who is a black gay man. We do not give him his just due because he is gay, and we are homophobic, especially in the black community. And that's something that we need to continue to work on. And then also it was a young woman who gave Dr. King that famous phrase, "I have a dream." And so I want to make sure that we always include into the conversation the other people that were parts of the movement, because it was not just Dr. King. There were so many other people who were, he was the orator, he was the face, no doubt about it, but there were other people working to make that happen. And I just want to say to you, Director Miller, I don't think I've ever said this to you, but I really want to appreciate the way that you loved on my mama.
I love your mom.
I know you did. And when she first met you, she called you black man politician. And I thought it's because she didn't like you, because you was talking like a politician, trying to be smooth and slick and trying to talk fast and all that. And so I felt like she was like, girl, this a black man. So that's how we were talking about you after the fact. After that first day that she met you. But from that day on, you continued to show up. You continued to love on her. Y'all continued to take pictures. Y'all continued to hug each other. And after a while, I was like, so you like him for real? And so I just want to make sure that I say that publicly, that everybody who loved her, my mother was not hard to love, right? Because she's an angelic spirit. I mean, like, she just had the great energy. She did. But I do want to appreciate you for that. I still see the photos of y'all on St. Patrick's Day. Y'all had your green on, taking pictures. It's just really lovely. So I just want to say thank you for that. And so my mother did not like what she called 7-Eleven songs. She did not like what we now have kind of progressed to in churches, where we have these praise teams that are up and they sing these songs, and the songs are repetitive. And so according to my mama, you saying 7 words 11 times. And for her, she don't need you to say it 11 times. She heard you the first 2 or 3 times and she ready for you to stop talking. But this song, I'm Black and I'm Proud, she didn't feel that way because that's really all it says. The song pretty much says, I'm Black and I'm proud 11 times. It's just gonna keep saying it over and over and again. And I was trying to explain to my mother that there is a method behind this mad, quote unquote, madness of repeating something. Because when you say it the first time, you ain't really paying attention to it. When you say it the second time, maybe you'll start paying attention to it. The third time, you're like, wait a minute, what words did just came out of my mouth? But by the time you get to the fifth time you've said it, by the time you get to the seventh time you've said it, when you're in the context of worship, now it's going deeper. Now you're beginning to feel it. Now you're beginning to think about it. Now you're beginning to claim it. Now you're beginning to get ready to walk in it. Now you're beginning to own it as your purpose. So there is a reason behind repetitive songs because they help you fortify what it is that you believe. And so that's what I believe this song is doing for us. I'm Black and I'm just going to keep saying the same thing until it gets way down deep in your spirit that you start walking it out without even thinking about it. And so I wanted to ground the conversation in that song, but also in the EJI tidbit for today. On this day, June 16th, 1944, 14-year-old George Stinney was executed in South Carolina. This was a 90-pound Black 14-year-old boy who was executed in the electric chair in Columbia, South Carolina. 3 months earlier, on March 24th, George and his sister were playing in their yard when two young white girls briefly approached and asked where they could find flowers. Hours later, the girls failed to return home and a search party was organized to find them. George joined the search party and casually mentioned to a bystander that he had seen the girls earlier. The following morning, their dead bodies were found in a shallow ditch, and they blamed George, a 90-pound-year-old, 14-year-old, who they executed in an electric chair. So when we think about being Black and proud, if we don't believe that in our own bodies, ain't nobody else gonna believe it. Ain't nobody else gonna teach it to us. Ain't nobody else gonna try to prove it to us. Ain't nobody else gonna show it to us. This world cares nothing about your Blackness. So it depends on your community. It depends on your leaders. It depends on your artists. It depends on your activists. It depends on your agitators. It depends on those people like me that get on your last nerve to make sure that you are reminded of who you are. You are divine, you are worthy, you are valuable, you are Black, and that should make you proud. And so when we think about you, Virgil Miller, director Virgil Miller, who's also a capitalist, who's also a banker, you got all kinds of things in your past to talk about. Tell us how you for yourself define success.
That's a good question because I've never thought about that. But I I embrace being able to mentor people. I meet with people when they want to meet with me. I have a lot of people who, Virgil, can you meet with this person? Virgil, this person wants to meet with you. Virgil, can you spend some time with this person? That to me is success. To give back, to want to meet people, to embrace people, to want to share with people. And if someone thinks enough of me to say, I want to pick your brain about banking, I want to pick your brain about politics, I want to pick your brain about fatherhood, I just want to talk to you, and maybe you can share some things with me to help me be successful like you. And I'm thinking, I didn't know I was successful. I never thought about it that way. And so if I were to have to say what success is, just based on the fact that all these people want to meet with me, not because of anything that I have, it's because of what what I have done and what they have seen me do. And that to me is success. And I never turn down anybody who wants to meet with me, who wants to talk with me, because that was done to me before. I've reached out to someone and asked them for some advice, and they didn't give me any advice. And it was a Black person. And it ended up, really affecting the way I negotiated when I was trying to get a job. I didn't know how to negotiate, and I didn't know anybody else to ask except this one person, and this one person didn't help me. And so when it came back around years later, this person asked me for some help, and I gave it to him. I don't. I think it's important to always give back and to always help people, and so that's to me that's success. And I've been asked to be Jackie Robinson so many times until I can point to so many examples of what I've had to endure. Certainly, as I told you, I grew up in Berkeley, but in 65, 66, we moved back to Arkansas and ended up going to a school that was just integrating that year. And there was 3 Blacks in the 7th grade. I was one of them. And my mother wanted us to go to this predominantly white school, Fuller Junior High School, as opposed to going to the all-Black school, Sweet Home High School. Because I'm from below Wrightsville. And she said, if you guys can't make it there in this school, if it's too tough for you, I'll enroll you in the Sweet Home. But you've been exposed to integrated schools, so you can try that. And the very first day, on the way home, on the bus, standing up, man, I was getting hit upside the head with spitballs. People make little balls, they take a straw and they blow it and it hits you upside the head. And man, I just got so frustrated. And then when we got off the bus, man, I pushed this guy back and the bus left. And I was pretty upset when I got home. My mother was asking, and she said, "Do you want to try?" I said, "Yes, I'll stay." And I didn't want to let my mother down. I didn't want to let her down. And that next day, I'm going to my locker, and all of a sudden, I get kicked in my backside, kicked right in my butt by this guy who I had pushed. And the guy said, "Ian, don't you ever do that to me again. We're fine." And he has a couple of guys with him. And my instinct was to reach out, but I didn't want to disappoint my mother. I would have got put out of school. The second day I was there, I had to hold my tongue, hold my feelings like Jackie Robinson. And even later on in that year, I had, man, a white guy come up to me and said, "Ed, you want to fight?" I didn't even know what fight was, but he was trying to say fight. Fight. And so I said, "No, I don't want to fight." And he said, "In scared, in scared." I'm thinking, man, this is the Twilight Zone. Where am I? But I had to hold back. And I'm a proud Black person, but I did not want to get put out of school. And in my career, my first job when I got into banking, I was the first Black person to work at Pulaski Federal Savings and Loan, Savers Federal Savings and Loan in their management training program. And when these folks hired me, they said, "You are our Jackie Robinson." And I had to endure a whole lot of discrimination, just like Jackie Robinson did. And I could not strike back at that. I just didn't know it was going to be internal as well as external. So I've had to fight back on that. But man, after a while, I started. There's a lot of things that I put up with, but I don't put up with a whole lot of disrespect at this point. I have held my tongue long enough, and I don't put up with bullies. I don't put up with disrespect, and so I have sued 3 times over racial discrimination. And I will do it again because I am not going to let that happen. I've been Jackie Robinson enough in my lifetime. I am not going to put up with disrespect. I'm not going to let somebody call me any kind of thing or talk to me any kind of way. And I feel a certain way about it, and you can probably hear it in my voice. I don't put up with that stuff anymore. But when I'm counseling young Black men, young Black women, I caution them on how you have to do things. And when there's a right time, wrong time for everything. And so I hope my counsel has helped a lot of people, because I have a lot of experiences that I've had to deal with. And being Jackie Robinson throughout my life has been one of those experiences.
Tony, do you want to say something?
Yeah, and I tell you what I've enjoyed is just hearing your story, hearing your history. And I think one of the things that makes that song by James Brown so important, back when it first came out, and growing up in the projects on the south side of Chicago, that's something that we said. We walking down the street, I'm Black and I'm proud. You throw the fist up, and and part of it was that uh, being in Chicago, you always got the history of Black people. We went to all Black schools, we lived in all Black neighborhoods, so you always have that history. And so I think that's part. I think that's part of being Black and proud, if you know the history. Just listen to your history. I've had numerous opportunities to go out to Oakland, Richmond, Humboldt, San Francisco, you know, and that whole Berkeley area, that whole Haight-Ashbury, Fillmore district, in the '60s, it was one of the few places where uh, you could have a sense of community. You could have a sense of, there was a certain amount of togetherness. Then knowing about how the Black Panthers started in East Oakland and everything, it when you hear that, and then you hear somebody who was right in the middle of it as a Black person, hearing that story gives you a better insight, into who you are. And I think that's one of the things that has happened. And I do appreciate the fact that you're sharing that story. And I think a lot of our listeners appreciate that. And there's a lot of people who share their stories about where we were and where we are. And that's one of the things that's being used to water down the Black experience, water down the Black history, is, taking it away. And my question to you, um, what do you, when you minister, when you counsel young Black men and women, how much did you tell them about their history? How do you uh, give them advice on learn where you come from, learn your history? You talked about your aunt. You talked about how were California, came back to Little Rock. You went to Fuller. Do you use your story to encourage them, people to learn their stories?
The simple answer is yes. I remember my daughter, Raven, coming home one day crying and saying she didn't want to be Black anymore. She's in elementary school. It seems like she was having that same crisis that I had when I was about her age, and when I was growing up, before I really embraced my Blackness, to say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. And so I said, Raven, let me sit down and talk to you. And so I sat her down and I told her about the greatness of Black people. And I didn't have to go outside of our family. My grandfather, her great grandfather, was a college professor. My father, her grandfather, was a college graduate. Her father, me, I'm a college graduate. Blackness in our family meant greatness, and that you are a great person. You are a queen. And for somebody to tell you or you to think that you don't want to be Black anymore, you just don't know the history, baby, of where you coming from. And it's not, I don't have to go to the history books to tell you. I can look at your own family tree and share with you the great Blackness in your family. And so when she heard that, boy, she stood up. Her head was erect. She's the Black queen.
Yes,
I think we may
I
have
know.
gone, we may have gone too far with her.
Because I know who you're talking about.
But I can tell you that her mother, she didn't send her to a HBCU because she said she was going to turn into Angela Davis. And I don't know if that didn't work. She's in Angela Davis already. But she has totally embraced her Blackness. And when I talked to her about, the greatness of being Black and the great things that Black people have done, from that point forward, she had nothing but smiles on her face when somebody called her Black. She said, I am Black and I'm proud. And I certainly shared with her my story. But she's a queen. And my family understands that. And so when I'm talking to these young Black people and I'm telling them about their history and what it means and the shoulders that they're standing on, embrace that. But certainly there is a time to be right. And you have to be careful with that because I can say, I tell people you can be right, but you can be dead right. For if you're crossing the street and you got a green light and you are right to cross the street, but if you see some car barreling down the road, you would be cautious not to go across, even though you would be in the right. And so sometimes you have to use Jackie Robinson. You have to hold your tongue. You have to play that, but boy, when you get through that part, Jackie Robinson, when he got, once he got settled, and that after that first year, he was fighting, he was standing up for himself, he was through taking all that. But you got to get in that door first. There's a little Malcolm in, there's a little Martin Luther King in me, but there's a whole lot of Malcolm X in me too. And I say, sometimes you got to be Martin, sometimes you got to be Malcolm. And man, when the Malcolm comes out, people
Now
know it.
you need to stop lying about this show.
Malcolm
Talking about
comes
you
out.
got a lot of Malcolm in you. You ain't got no lot of
I
Malcolm
got
in you.
more Malcolm than Martin.
Since when? You is talking. You listen. Hold on. Let me just say this.
Black man politician.
Listen, I do want to say to you, those of you who are calling in, I see you. I have been hanging up the phone on you because I did not want to interrupt Tony and I did not want to interrupt our guest, Black man politician, Director Virgil Miller from Ward 1 right here in the city of Little Rock. So please call me back. I really am ready to receive whatever it is that you have to say, but I did not want to interrupt them. And I just want to take a moment to think back on what Eric Higgins said this past Sunday. Caller, you're live on the air at KABF. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, you was talking about success. Real quick though, I used to play baseball in high school, and I did a speech. I went to a segregated school in Louisiana. I did a speech on Jackie Robinson, and I was so dumb. I didn't even know who you were. I didn't know, I just didn't know it. But I admire the older teachers because I'm not going to school now. The old Black teachers, they look like they put more emphasis on the students and different things that, what we have now. It takes time. My music teacher, he kids talk, it was just a different environment. I enjoy going to all Black schools myself. But my goal right now is to always try to do, if whatever I'm doing today, I want to do it better to in the future tomorrow. I look all the way back on my life from the fields and how far I come, and I know that I have come a long way, and I know that it had to be a power outside of this power structure that I brought you this far. I thank you all. I thank you too, brother. I admire you. I like to see people doing good myself. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. I when I first met you, me and you got into it all the time. Caller, you're live on the air at KABF. Thanks for calling Community Voices.
Good morning, Sister Denise,
Hey, Ezekiel.
to the listeners. Uh, Mr. Virgil Miller, I'm reminded of just like Toney was. Alameda County was part of my growing up, all the way to East Mountain Mall, Bancroft, San Pablo, all through Berkeley, all the way out to Richmond. I was part of that. I was even part of that co-op that your aunt had something to do with. A lot of folks got their fruit and vegetables as a result of her.
Yes, sure did.
And then I wanted to also ask you about success. I know loan officers do a lot of interacting with the public as such. I don't know just what your position is with compliance, but have you been successful to get to what the program is about? Have you been successful in helping folks who need loans, which is a great function of the bank, but they don't seem to be too interested in the loan situation as far as I've seen here in the inner city? And another thing, what about those millions of dollars for this war that you represent that don't seem to be shrinking down to the folks that need them, like for the upkeep of their properties and, things that make the windows and doors and roofs and things of that nature. And I get off there and look through the song. I hope I haven't spoken too much, but I'm feeling speak to you more about it. Maybe I'll never get you. Thank you very much. Maybe I'll never
Thank you. And certainly if you want to
call me
after,
after,
my number is
please give me a call.
501
My number is 501 319
Now to your question.
2029.
When I
Now to your question.
went to
When I
Pulaski Federal
went
Savings
to Pulaski Federal Savers Federal and trained as a
went through that program.
management training, went through that program. When I got out of the program, I became a mortgage loan officer. I helped get loans to buy homes. That was my job. It's
often that someone will come up to me and say, you may not remember this, but you may not remember, loan for me to buy a house.
Loan for me to buy a house.
Wendell Griffin,
The Honorable Judge Wendell Griffin, who I guess you guys all know, who has a program on this air, he will tell you that the first home loan he got, him and his wife, they got it from Virgil Miller.
Jill Brooks, who's on the
Airport Commission, who's been the commissioner there for 10 years this year. She came up to me and told me that, Virgil, you don't remember this.
You got my mother and father.
You got my mother and father,
and you were the
a
first
home
black
loan.
banker I had
And
seen.
you were the first black banker I had seen.
Helped us, and I
And
always remembered it.
helped
You
us,
were
and
a
I
black
always
man,
remembered
and
it.
that was the house that
You
I
were a
grew
black
up in.
man, and
You
that was
got
the
my
house that I
mother and
grew up in.
father
You
their
got my
loan.
mother and
And so
father
it is
their loan.
not- it-
And
it
so
is
it
not
is
rare
not,
for
it's
somebody to
not
come up to
rare
me and
for somebody to come up to
that you
me
got me
and tell
my home
me
loan.
that you got
And
me
so
my home loan.
I've forgotten a
And
lot
so
of that,
I've gotten a lot
people
of
have
that.
told me that they
But
admired me
people
as
have
a black
told
man,
that
as
they
a black man
admired
that was
me as a
able to help
black
people
man,
get
as a black man
loans
that was able to help people
that
get
I didn't even think
loans
about.
that
So
I
yes,
didn't even
that
think
happens
about.
a lot.
And
Now,
so,
when it
yes, that
comes to the
happens a lot.
funds
Now, when it
that
comes to the funds that were set aside, targeted community funds that Ward 1, Ward 2, Ward 6 and 7 have received,
thanks to the work
thanks
of
to
Director
the
Antoine
work
Phillips, who was
of
working
Director
with
Antoine Phillips,
Director
who was
Irma
working
Hendricks
with
before she passed, to
Director
try to
Irma
get set
Hendricks before
aside
she
for those funds.
tried to get a set
We've
aside
had
for
some
those
funds like
funds.
that.
We've
Funds that I've
had some funds
allocated
like
for
that.
Interstate Park
Funds
to
that
have
I've
lights
allocated
put up
for
there
Interstate
so
Park
that
to have lights put
scores
up
of people
there
that
so
could
that
use that
the
park
scores
to
of people
continue
that
to use
could use that
because we
park to
need to have
continue to
things for
use
people
that
to do,
because we
and they didn't
need
have
things
lights
for
for
people
that.
to
That was a
do,
chunk
and
of
they
that
didn't have
money.
lights for
A
that.
chunk
That
of
was
that
a
money
chunk of that
went to
money.
Southside
A chunk of
Park.
that money
Some
went to
people call it
Southside
Sunset
Park.
Tiger
Some people
Park.
call it
That's going to
Sunset
fix
Tiger
up
Park. That's going to fix up
their parking
their
lot.
their
Certainly help
parking lot
with
and
the
certainly
lights that
help
we've already put
with
up
the lights
there
that
and
we've already
bleachers
put
that
up
we
there, and bleachers that we moved there, funds that we put to Crump Garden, another community garden that we are so proud of that we have throughout the city. And then we're looking at doing replacing, repairing the HVAC system at the East Little Rock Community Center, so that that could be used year-round. Because in summertime, you don't have air conditioning, then that's going to be a problem. So yes, we've allocated those funds. We look forward, hopefully, the board will see fit to allocate some more money that we can use to help with these, these needs that are all in Ward 1.
I just want to say something real quick. A lot of people don't know, Director Miller, that when Acorn was pushing for housing reform, housing rights reform, low-income people, residents, and especially Black people, they don't know that you were the one that was instrumental in teaching housing. You were the one that worked with Acorn, in DC to get this. So those people that are coming to you saying that, hey, I got my personal loan through you, a lot of people don't realize that it was because of your work with Acorn that helped change the regulations, that helped get rid of redlining, that helped make those things possible. So, that's another part of the story. That when it's told, people can relate and say, "Oh, okay, that may be how they look at success. That may be how they look at success. That may be how they will inspire something that will inspire."
Let me get this in from Low. It says Jackie was not the best, because you keep mentioning Jackie Robinson. Jackie was not the best, but just happened to be the first. He was not political until after his baseball career. Ricky Branch, the owner, wanted someone who would not fight back, but to put Black bodies in the stand. And so we wanted to get that information in from Hotep. I also, the girl Lola is at the door. We gotta go. It's already 10 o'clock. It's already 10 o'clock. But I just want to make sure that I say this. That when I first met you, one of the conversations we would have over and over again is that you were Martin and I was Malcolm. I don't know if you remember that, but I remember it clearly. Because my argument with you was that as Malcolm, you would be at the table, but as Martin, you would be at the table. But as a Malcolm, I wasn't sure what you were saying at the table. So I wasn't sure that I could trust you at the table as Martin, because I'm like, are we on the same page? And so when I'm listening to this history that Toney is providing, when I'm listening to the history that you are providing, when I'm thinking about all of the things that you have done, just kind of like at the root of who you are, at the essence of who you are. I just want to let you know that some of us are concerned because we feel like maybe you're getting away from I'm Black and I'm Proud. Maybe you're getting away from what your aunt Mardell did. Like maybe you getting comfortable in your capitalism, that you are no longer really as focused as you have been on Black folks. And so I just want to let you know that there are a whole bunch of us who think that and who wonder that, and so that you would be thinking about it as you continue to do your work. Not for you to have a response unless you just want to, but we don't have time for you to have a response. Isn't it great that I can say that and then you don't get a chance to respond?
She dropped the mic on you. She dropped the mic on you.
Your girl Lola is in the house. She's standing in the door right now. I got 1 minute to give us. We gotta go. Your girl Lola is ready to play. One last comment for us so we can leave this conversation with you.
Well, I still
am inspired by James Brown. I wear it proudly. I am Black. And I am proud. I am glad of the work that I have done. I am
glad of the people that I've been able to help.
And my work is not finished.
I think it's extremely important.
I think it's extremely important to continue to work for
people that are marginalized,
people that people that don't have a voice.
I am that voice.
I am that voice for them. I don't have to speak for the rich and powerful. I speak for those who don't have a voice. And so I will continue to do do that.
Virgil Miller,
And I
black man
am
politician.
Virgil Miller,
And I
black
am
man,
black and I'm
politician. And I am black and I'm proud.
Embraced it.
Yeah, my mama,
Embraced
he
it.
had to.
Yeah, my
Thank you all
mom,
so
he
much for
had
joining
to.
us for Community
Thank you all
Voices.
so
We
much
have
for
been
joining
live
us for
right here at
Community Voices.
KBF
We have been live right
88.3
here at
FM, where
KBF
we are the voice
88.3
of the
FM, where
people.
we
You
are the
got 2
voice
hours
of
of
the people.
jazz
You
coming up. She's
got
gonna
2
get you
hours of
started
jazz
with the
coming up.
ladies. So
She's
why
gonna
don't
get
I
you
go ahead
started
and get
with the
her
ladies. So
started?
why don't
And
I
here
go
we
ahead and
have
get her
"I Only
started?
Have
And here
Eyes
we
for
have
You"
I
by
Only Have
Carmen McRae. I
Eyes for
wonder
You
what that would
by
feel
Carmen
like
McRae. I wonder
if we
what that would
really
feel like
stopped and said,
if
"I
we
only
really
have
stopped and
eyes for
said, I
you as
only
human."
have eyes
Not
for
any
you as human.
labels, not
Not
any
any
identities,
labels,
not
not
any
any
boxes, not
identities,
any
not any
stories of success, but
not
I
any
only
stories of
have
success, but
eyes for
I
you as
only
human. And
have
how can
eyes
we
for
live
you
together,
as human. And
human to
how can
human?
we
So that's
live
what this
together,
conversation
human
is
to
about
human?
with
That's
this
what this
song. And
conversation
we'll
is
see
about with
y'all
this
right
song.
back
And
here
we'll see
next
y'all
week.
right
You
back
got
here next week.
Marquis
You
Hunt,
got
Mr.
Marquis
Moon
Hunt,
Monday
Mr.
right here sharing his
Moon.
stories of success. You don't want to miss it. We'll see y'all
Success.
soon.
You don't want to miss it. We'll see
No,
you.
you don't want to miss that one.